Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Daniil, and I'm the co-founder of SciTech VR. So, it's a funny thing, but I was actually participating in the AI conference earlier this day. We've been speaking about the Web3 technology and the AI and how it can help some human technologies and how people can benefit from it. So I've got a lot of insights from these talks, and I would like to share it. So, SciTech. SciTech, it's a virtual reality system for the therapy where we have a mental health and wellness. And of course, everyone knows that, especially after the COVID, everyone is into the mental health, people learning about the wellness, about the mindfulness and things. But not so many people actually know that the virtual reality as a Web3 technology can be associated with the AI, especially with the generative AI. And I've got a very interesting story for you. So the thing is that there are a lot of different anxiety disorders, which includes the PTSD, OCD, and a variety of different disorders. The thing is that people with different mental traumas, they have issues. They have like internal problems creating and visualizing their own safe place. The safe place is probably one of the most important relaxation techniques, both for the cognitive behavioral therapy and for the EMDR, eye movement, reprocessing and desensitization. Like both of these modalities, they are accepted by the World Health Organization. So the thing is that safe place is very initial. So people must have a safe place called this is something, which really helps you to relax. If you're like in front of the HR and you're having a certain conversation and you feel uncomfortable, really, you can just bring yourself to the safe place for a few seconds. This is your place where you feel relaxed. This is your place which is comfort for you. And CBT therapists and EMDR therapists, they use safe place everywhere. So if you're treating certain anxiety, a certain disorder, the safe place is a practice which is working for the grounding. So let's say that you're dealing with some certain post-traumatic stress disorder of the war or even of this certain abuse. So the therapist is going to use the safe place as a practice to transit you from your exposure of this negative emotion to something positive. But it's quite known, like every therapist knows, and it's quite known that people which has trauma, they have problems visualizing their safe places because they're quite, quite concentrated on their issue, on their mental health issue. So here comes the question. So how people can visualize their safe place? And here comes the VR and AI. We'll start today in my presentation. We'll learn something about the VR very quickly, and next we'll focus on the generative AI component. Let me start by saying that, of course, the the VR is not something new. So like VR was invented many years ago, but not so many people know that CBT and other like techniques modalities, they also created the last century. So while VR AI was just like developing, the psychology was actually there. So the VR therapy which we're actually doing and like the AI thing, so I should definitely say that the VR therapy was created in 1995 by two big organizations, Georgia Tech and Emory University. So they created the first system to treat soldiers with the PTSD from the Vietnam War and using this technology. But the biggest problem which they faced is that the therapy wasn't advanced, for some specific beliefs and thoughts of the people, especially in the case that some people had a picture of the war right in front of their eyes, and the virtual scenarios were not aligned with these pictures which they saw. So here comes the idea that actually the VR just without a certain generative AI can show some pictures to help people, like to work with a negative emotion, with a trauma. But it's not something tailored for the needs of the patients. Of course, these researches are showing that there is a huge decrease in, PTSD symptoms and others when we talk about the therapy, but without the generative AI, it's hard. So there are a lot of publications here written on the Google Scholar that the VR therapy actually works. So we're in an interesting moment where the ChatGPT really appeared like about like 3-4 years ago, maybe before, but like it's like everyone knows that from like the period of like 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm trying to say that like VR in terms of the therapy can really bring some benefits, but the generative AI, it's something very important. One thing before we go to the generative AI part is you need to know that the VR in terms of the therapy is really bringing some sense. So during imaginal exposure therapy, the therapist triggering your seeing, hearing, and the feeling object around you. And the exposure therapy is standard one, not that the VR, it doesn't trigger any of your human senses. So VR, a Web3 technology, is like proven to be very, very immersive. So this virtual Vietnam and like some other training systems, they are really designed to help people. But if I tell you that we created a generative AI which can be tailored for the therapy needs? I would like to show this fragment of the video, which is filmed by the NHS psychotherapist and psychologist. So this is the person here. His name is um, James, and James is actually wearing a virtual reality headset. And the picture on the right side, which you can see, it's the Cytec VR, the virtual reality exposure therapy, which we created. So you can see that we have a lot of different things here, like anxiety disorder, anger, wellness, PTSD, but we'll go to the generative AI. So James gonna click the save place, and now you'll appear in our save place. So this is the system which is actually powered by the generative AI, where you can create any relaxation practice or any, like therapy place, and it's powered by the AI. So this is something which James created before, but I can really tell you that you can create almost anything here by giving a prompt. So I'm gonna type a certain visualization style here. So we have a lot of different things. Let's say that the realistic one is, oh, the cartoonish one exists, the realistic is one of them. Next, you can type something. So we're gonna type like we would like to go to the misty forest, misty woods. All right. Next, our system gonna take 30 seconds to create it. And I mean, everyone knows the mid journey, and like in the mid journey within like 5-10 seconds, you are getting a certain 2D picture. But the VR is different. When you're getting there, you have a 360 experience all over you. So what our system is doing is that we are creating a lot of different pictures at the same time and combining them to a 360 world. So you can see that this is a full 360 experience created for the therapy purposes. And the therapist can actually use it for different relaxation techniques or for different grounding techniques. So if there is a person with a certain anxiety disorder during the conversation, during a consultation, the therapist can bring the person to this tailored, unique, safe place. The thing is that you can create almost anything here. Later, James gonna show us something, but again, this can be a relaxative experience. And if you type cosmos, you're gonna have a cosmos. If you type a mountain trail with the ships, you're gonna have it. So the Gen AI, which we have, can create almost anything. Okay, we can just keep it a bit, and James is probably explaining here so that everyone has meditation to breathe here, to do some breathing exercise, because of course during a safe place you have to relax, you have to de-stress. But we can actually jump here. So we're gonna play with something new. Okay, on top of the right. Well, I think we'll go somewhere like a mountain, right? So some of the people may say, all right, but like a safe place is a relaxation, but can we create an exposure therapy here? Sure, you can also do it. So with our tool, you can create the exposure. So if you have an exposure of the height, you just go and type something like a mountain trail in a view over the canyon or anything, and you're gonna have it. So here, the therapist can work with your anxiety disorder, which is acrophobia is actually a form of it. A certain like the phobia of heights. So I mean that our tool can even help with this thing. The problem again is that people with a trauma, they have a lack of imagination to do the exposure therapy, the imaginal exposure therapy, but the VR can actually show it. So if we if we continue, we can also type something like yeah, we'll type something negative, so you can get something, and you may see that this is a 360 experience, but it's a stable experience. So the right moment, we don't have special technical capabilities to create something like a video, like a 360 video created by the Gen AI. It's right now currently hard, but we predict that within a 6 months the technology gonna have a new step, so we can continue building some 360 experiences in terms of the videos more animated. But now even this works. So I can also give you another interesting thing. So we're right now in a process of working with one university, it's the University of Maryland, and we're applying for the grant where we're gonna work with the people which has a schizophrenia. So these people, they actually are known that they have, different auditorium hallucinations and stuff. So I mean, even for them, it's very needed to have a safe place. But these people, they it's mentally, it's physically, it's even starting from the health, it's so hard for them to establish their safe place. So our Gen AI can be the answer. So we're right now conducting this like the application. We're gonna apply for it, and hopefully we're gonna have a couple of researchers across the US. So this is actually happening with us with the psychotherapy, psychiatry department with some professors. So the Gen AI can also help in terms of this. So in my presentation, I can also show you some other things. Not so many people actually know that like the VR therapy can be integrated, because people know that there is an imaginal exposure, people know that there is an in vivo therapy, but the VR therapy is something which stands in the middle, because it has a safe component of imaginal exposure. Because of an imaginal exposure, you're just sitting in a chair and trying to imagine this, certain exposure. And with in vivo therapy, it's pretty much like dangerous, but it's very immersive. And the VR is safe on the one side, and it's actually immersive on the other side. So and of course, before, even when this Emory University and others, they conducted this study, it was very expensive to work with this technology, and even AI wasn't there. But nowadays, everything is just right here. So we've got a very affordable technology in terms of the VR, the graphics, the movement style. And of course, the AI is here, because like 6, 7 years ago, no one could ever believe that this will be here, but we can actually help people with the therapy. So I've got another video for you. Just a moment. Let me show you it. So of course, with this Gen AI, which you have, you can create like any scenario for anxiety disorders. And of course, people know that there are a lot of them, starting from the heights, dogs, doctors, crowds, hospitals, right to more. So with the Gen AI, you can do this. The anger management is another great topic in terms of the therapy, which can be which we can work with the Gen AI. The PTSD with its different things like violence, natural disasters, different like war, terrorist attacks, military topics. So this is also can be covered. And of course, the relaxations. But Like again, how you do this with us. So you just request a certain safe place, you choose the filter. Next you go and find something. So in this case, I'm gonna find something. Let's see, luxury villa is the something which I entered here, and just within 20 seconds you get in it. So your safe place can be unique. It can be of a like let's say something more realistic, or it can be something different. So it can be Cosmos, which I mentioned. It can be Magic Garden. It can be Mars. It can be Ocean. It can be Talent. It can be Bali. So you're just giving a prompt, and the system gonna help you get the answer, get the unique, tailored AI place. And also, a lot of people are actually working nowadays with manifestation. So this is another thing where VR and generative AI can be applied. So even if you're gonna go with something interesting like a luxury car visualization, so this AI can actually help. So that's pretty much it. Maybe you've got some specific questions about it. I would love to answer. Oh, can you hear me? I think your microphone is muted. Okay, maybe we've got something with the internet. So let me show you the rest. So of course, moreover, you can create something like, let's say, with the airplanes. So you can create a unique exposure with a phobia of flights. Aerophobia is actually one of the most like famous. Not so many people know that it's affected by almost half of the world. So like of course we are not designed to fly, especially in the airplane, but actually the AI can help us create almost anything. So that's something pretty unique, and we don't have any competitors in the industry which has also these capabilities with the generative AI to create different things. So again, to sum up, this is the way how the Gen AI can help people. Yep, that's it. Okay, Francesca, you here? Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your presentation. So I have a couple of questions for you. Um,
Mhm.
so in terms of, could you tell me a little bit more about, do you have a background in psychology, or how did you get into this space?
Correct. So this is actually a very good question. So one of my relatives, she's actually the psychologist, and this is, as I mentioned, the psychologist, they're using the exposure therapy to ask the patient, to imagine a certain, you know, mental health issue. So the person with the phobia of heights came to her, and they were trying to vividly imagine the skyscraper with a view over the city. But the problem was that this person was having a trauma from his early ages, and this trauma, this mental health concentration of his issue, wasn't really getting him the opportunity to imagine that. So this person left the consultation in the mid of it. So next, my relative, she actually came back home, and she's she's having about like 15 years of the therapy experience, so she's quite into it. So she was like telling me that there was a negative experience she had as a doctor, as a therapist. And at the same time, I was actually working with this virtual reality technology. I was working with different educational VR implementations. And I said, hey, in terms of like asking the patient to create it with imagination, you can ask the patient to take it and see it in a 3D. So she couldn't believe me, but she has taken the headset. She saw that, like this exposure, this heights phobia can be right in front of your eyes. And this was our starting point in 2020. Later, we started actively developing. And what I can say is that in 2022, we started working on the AI. In 23, we actually released this. So the generative AI has its own power here. It really helps to create the tailored therapy experience for the patient needs.
So in terms of the user experience, does the user have to come in and say, I'm afraid of heights, I'm afraid of small spaces, so they have to understand themselves to begin with,
Exactly.
and then they select those experiences that are going to expose themselves kind of slowly but surely to what
Mhm.
they're scared of? Is that what?
Right, right. That's absolutely true. So you're just coming there. I mean, we have some pre-built scenarios where you can identify and make a certain, like work on whether you have this phobia or not. But of course, the majority of work is coming for the therapist to work with a certain problem, finding the aim, and next the patient can go to our AI and say, well, so like my let's say my phobia is the phobia of spiders, tarantulas in I don't know, like in the rainforest. So you're gonna type like a spider in the rainforest and gonna get it. So as I showed you on the videos. So
Mm,
this is a unique tailored exposure therapy for the patient needs.
mm. I suppose it is our sort of inbuilt survival mechanism to, if you put your hand on fire, you
Mhm.
learn, oh, it's going to burn you, so you take it off. And
Exactly.
it's almost like you're saying, no, hold your hand on the fire and expose yourself to the fire and will yourself to think that it's not going to burn you anymore. So it's an
Right.
interesting one because on the one hand, those are natural impulses that are there to
Mhm.
protect the person.
Yeah, yeah,
On the other
yeah.
hand, they have to kind of rationalize it and say, well, actually, in day-to-day life, it's kind of
Correct.
limiting me. So I want to get over this fear. So it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's
then
great. Mhm.
um, when you talk about safe space, are you talking about, someone's home or a work situation?
Mhm.
Sometimes people's homes aren't safe spaces. For example, maybe they've got, domestic abuse and you know, are you suggesting that they should put a VR headset on to kind of escape whatever situation they're in? Is that what you're sort of
Um,
suggesting, or how how
um,
how best can they sort of?
Yep. I mean, of course, there's, like ideal world picture and the reality, but at the end of the day, people which struggle with mental health issues, some, let's say, mental health disorders, this thing can be a really, it can be a real, like panacea for that. So like let's say that you're experiencing the burnout on your work, and of course it's happening because you don't know like how to de-stress, how to relax after your work. But this gen AI can actually help you visualize and create your own safe place where you feel calm, because let's say that you've been born not in the US and not in the UK. Let's say your hometown is like, I know, like Tasmania in Australia, and you can remember some great picture of you and, let's say, your father or any relative going to a certain forest and seeing a waterfall. So, and this is the picture which you feel like ideal for your relaxation. So with our system, you can go and type it, and you're gonna have this unique experience with you. So later you can save it, and you can always go there and relax. Another
That's
thing,
that's a really interesting one, sort of
yeah,
tapping into those childhood memories, which are good
right,
childhood
childhood,
memories,
correct.
where
Yeah, yeah.
you're a vulnerable child, but you're with, an older person of some kind in a beautiful setting, and you feel really safe and looked after. So that's the ultimate feeling, I suppose, of being able to be vulnerable but feeling safe in that vulnerability.
That's pretty much it. You got it. That's true. And again, Gen AI can really help.
That's no fascinating, and I love the idea of being able to bring back memories, or take an image, for example, and then use generative AI to paint that whole story around that. And I think another important part of sort of mental health is maybe breath work and meditation. So
Correct.
using, I don't know,
Correct.
I've heard a lot about binaural beats.
That's it. That's true.
Whenever I'm scared on a flight and there's turbulence, I always try and sort of slow my breath down rather than starting to, breathe really fast.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so that, yeah, there are all sorts of little hacks.
And we actually have it. We actually have it. So if you create your safe place, you can what you can do is just like you can turn on any beats inside. We have a library of about 100 of different sounds, including binaural beats and some other, relaxative sounds, and also breath work. We have a very standard box breathing exercise. So by clicking one button, you call it breathing exercise. It's like a certain UI happening right in front of you where you can, do a breath work. And you can do it on your own, or you can do it with a therapist. But again, the component of the VR really helps you to be immersed. Because when you're wearing a headset, if you look left, right, or different ways, you're gonna see it in a full 3D, and like it's different from taking a look at the 2D screen. So it has its own immersive component here.
Absolutely. No, really, really super fascinating. And I'm looking forward to the graphics becoming a bit more hyper realistic
Right.
rather than a kind of game style matrix
It's
situation.
getting there. It's getting
Getting
there. This
there
is
slowly but surely, because
yeah.
there's nothing that beats, real nature, real sunlight. All of those things are probably the most fundamental things for our health. But then the next best thing is probably just to see that and trick the brain that they're actually in one of those beautiful environments, even if they're not.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today.
A
And
pleasure.
I look forward to trying it at some stage.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you. Bye.